Looking delicious, feeling delicious. I've got a white button down on, and we've got another episode of Dad Easy, and I'm very excited about this one because it is a part 2 to the previous episode from last week. So if you haven't seen our previous episode or listened to it, please make sure to go check that one out, because what we're talking about, we were exploring the idea of hospital birth versus birthing center versus home birth. And we spent the previous episode really talking about hospital births, why not, what's the importance of choosing that versus not choosing that. And now we really go into a deep dive of home birth versus birthing center, why we chose what we chose as a couple, the things we did, the research we put in, the time, all that effort and energy. We explain our reasoning so that we can help you maybe make a better decision for what it is you want to do for your birthing process. We are so excited to dive into this super sexy, controversial topic. We'll see you guys in there. Let's get after it. Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Bea.
We don't have all the answers, but we're definitely in it. And if you're ready to lead your family by being more of yourself, not less, then you're in the right place.
We are so grateful to be in this with you.
This is Dad Easy. Let's get into it. All right, we're back and we are doing it. We're doing it live, and we have matching white button downs on. So today's a good day. But the reason we have matching white button downs is because
we did a baby photo shoot.
No, not just a baby photo shoot. Tell them what you did today. Your first ever
naked picture.
She did naked pictures today.
That's a baby photo shoot.
It was awesome. For
baby
me.
Bump photo shoot.
That was not a baby bump. That was a baby large sack photo shoot. This thing is huge. We did the baby bump photo shoot on the beach already.
That's true.
This one. Yeah, it was a big one. But that's not what we're talking about today. Although we did just come back looking all, dazzled up and cute.
This is part 2 of a conversation we have started last time.
What did we talk about last time?
Last time we spoke about hospital birth and birthing centers and this whole decision on hospital versus birthing center. And we also announced that at 35 weeks pregnant, we decided to transition from birthing center to a home birth. And I think now we're going to talk a little bit more about the difference between the birthing center, home birth, how we are preparing for home birth, who we are telling, why we are doing this, and all the things.
We're doing that. We're doing that. Home versus birthing center. Can we do a quick recap of what those two things are, just so people understand? So quick recap, you just correct me if I'm wrong. Birthing center is a place that is known as kind of an in-between between a hospital and a home birth. And it allows people to be around medical professionals.
Assisted by midwives.
There's usually not doctors there, right?
No.
And it's a physical location that you go to have the birth. And the way I would describe it is they kind of have these like hotel-esque room type things. At the one we were at, there's like 3 rooms. They all kind of look a little different. They have different themes. One's like a blue room. One's more of like a tannish. So they got different colors, different themes. And it's like you go there and that's where you do your birth. They have a bed. Some of them have a bath, a shower, all that. So that you're there. And then another interesting thing about birthing centers is you're out within 6 hours. Like you finish and you're out within 6 hours.
That was very surprising for me, especially like being from Brazil and just knowing like hospital birth. Usually in Brazil, you do, even if it's a natural birth, you stay 2-3 days in the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, they kind of manage all the like cleanup and take care of all that stuff, right? And then they have a couple people on staff. So it's nice to know there's a team there that can support you while you're there. They also usually offer some type of birthing class or supportive class with a community of people who are also birthing there that are birthing around the same time as you. So you meet parents or soon to be parents who are on a similar journey, which is also really nice. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. I think that probably covers, I think it just makes people feel safe. They also have a connection, at least ours, and I would imagine most do, a connection with the hospital, the local hospital, so that if something were to be emergent, they can get you to a hospital quickly. So it does give people this peace of mind, a lot of guidance, a lot of support throughout the process. You do all your prenatal care there. So they do ultrasounds and the whole nine. We never had a pediatrician. It's another thing we haven't talked about, actually. We never had a pediatrician so far because the midwives are doing all of that. We also just briefly, I would go back to the last episode where we talked about the distinction between a midwife and a doula. What are those things? So if you don't know what that is, definitely worth watching that last episode. So we're at 37 weeks tomorrow.
Yes.
Wow. 37 weeks, dudes, that's the space where it's like officially you can kind of open the doors to like, it's baby time. From this point forward, starting tomorrow, this baby is no longer considered like premature.
Jesus Christ. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
It's go time.
Yes, go time. So we had a meeting yesterday. We'll go back to this in a second, but it's just coming up for me as we're talking about it. We had a meeting with our midwife, who was our doula, and now she's acting as midwife. We'll talk about that transition as well. And we sat with her for like 2.5 hours, and we finished that conversation. And I was like, I felt like somebody sucked everything out of me. I was drained, which is weird. And I'm trying to process why that is. And then I woke up this morning and I said to Bea while we were driving to do this photo shoot that I'm ready to fight somebody. Now, if you know me, I'm just simply not a fighter. I'm just not. I'm a lover.
Although he was trying to fight with me a little before this.
Yeah. Well, when you put cold hands on my shirtless back, you deserve to be fought.
He does that to me every night. Literally.
So, I mean, listen.
Come on.
Okay.
Go.
So, I don't know what it was, but something energetically like shifted in me. I don't know if I'm bringing it up because holy crap, 37 weeks, like it's official, but there's clearly like, there's a sense of irritation. There's an overwhelm. There's something happening different in my mind and in turn my body today. And I just want to point that out because I don't have an answer for that as to why maybe we shouldn't do this. I don't know. Should we talk about it? I don't know what the answer is, but I think it's important because the woman is known to go through all these hormonal changes and everybody's like, oh my God, how's it going with her? How's she feeling? And that's the most important thing. But I think it's also important as the dad to know, like, you're going through a lot too. We're going through the emotional aspect of this. And often we're not acknowledged through that process. I feel like I've been incredibly supported and acknowledged by Bea. She's very regularly checking in on me, which I think is unusual. But we just don't get, it's fair to say that our emotions are going to change too.
Yeah. For sure.
And we don't really have a playbook for this, and it's not talked about a lot. So I just want the dudes to know it's okay if you're feeling kind of emotionally all over the place too. I think communication is really important. I think opening yourself to exploring what the heck is going on. What am I actually feeling? Getting some support there, whether that be a therapist, whether that be a coach, whether that be someone that you really trust and lean on. Get some support and connection and ask, here's what I'm feeling. Can I talk this out? I do a lot of journaling in the morning. That's big for me. So just kind of writing out what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing. So it's okay to be feeling a lot during this time. I think it's fair to say, just like the lady is, her hormones are literally being adjusted. But there's a thing that happens energetically. We know this about people. Like when you're in the energy of somebody great, you feel greater. When you're in the energy of somebody loving, you feel that love. When the hormones are constantly kind of going all over the place, it's fair to say that, Dad, you also might feel a little imbalanced at times while you're trying to hold space. So it's all good. Just pointing that out, that we're crazy. So, okay. Anything to say about that? Cool. Good. Don't say a damn thing. And I'm not going to hurt anybody today. I will probably punch a bag or something and get some boxing gloves on. All right. So we're talking home versus birthing center. We talked about what a birthing center is. A home birth is exactly what it sounds. You literally do the entire process at home. You have a baby in your house. Sometimes that includes a midwife or a doula. When you have a midwife there, that would be no longer considered a free birth. A free birth is when you literally birth the baby by yourself. Like you do it and you do it with your partner.
And you might have a doula with you, but you don't have any medical assistance. No midwife or anything.
So the midwife is the medical assistant in this case. So what you would do is you would hire a person to come in. You'd independently contract them. Sometimes some of them may take insurance. Some of them are not taking insurance.
There are a lot of midwives that take insurance, yes.
Yeah. So that's home versus birthing center. So I want to understand from you, because it's important for the guys to hear like the woman's perspective, because the truth is the way I thought about it always was when we started this process, no shot on home birth. It's just stupid. This is what I thought in the beginning. It's just stupid. It's irresponsible. I'm not judging anybody's thing, mostly because now we're doing it. So clearly I'm not judging it, but it's stupid. It's irresponsible. It's dangerous. And it's very egoic. Like, I need to do it at home because I'm so spiritual that I don't need a hospital. That was really what I thought.
That's not what I thought, but
I'm talking about like probably before we even started having. Yeah. But then we had a couple friends who did home births, and that started to make me like, because these are people I really respect and love, and that started to change my perspective. But still was not in the place when we started to be like, yes, let's do a home birth. Neither were you, by the way.
Absolutely not.
So then it started to transition, and we're going to explain where that whole process went. So for you as the guy, because now I have some clear understanding, I will talk about that. But as the guy listening, what did you need me to know or understand as you started to go into this exploration of home birth versus birthing center?
Well, first of all, I think I shared this before for those of you who have heard before, but I said before being pregnant and in the beginning of pregnancy, I was 100% not doing home birth, and I was against for myself just because I thought it would be too risky, too messy. It wouldn't be something that would be the safest thing for my baby. I had no idea if I could do something like that, whatever. So for me, it was like 100% no. And that's why we started looking into birthing center. So we look into birthing center as a recommendation of a friend who have done and had friends who did the birthing center. So I decided to look into birthing center. We both aligned into that, and we were like, okay, great. We love there. Let's do there. But then in this process, I start to study a lot. I start to learn more about the birth, the anatomy, the physiology of birth, all of that. I did a hypnobirthing certification, not only like the course, but literally getting certified and learning what it looks like to have a baby, understanding like what happens in my body, what hormones are involved, what happens in the hospital setting, what happens in the birthing center, what happens at home birth. After I went through all of this, I got into a place where I understood that there was no difference between doing in a birthing center and home birth in terms of like the health of the baby, like how...
Or in terms of like the processes.
Yes.
Right? Like there's a midwife there. There's not like some medical intervention that doesn't happen.
That's the reason that you can say that it's exactly the same thing. And I'm quoting here, same thing, because it's like what a midwife has with you at home is the same thing that a midwife has with you at a birthing center. Tools-wise and in terms of like legality or the whole process of doing at home with a midwife and doing at a birthing center, which is with a midwife, it's exactly the same. The process is the same. There are a few differences, which is in a birthing center, you don't know there's a group, a staff. So there's no way that you can know exactly if you're doing naturally, which you are, if you're choosing birthing center or home birth. There's no way that you can choose what is the midwife that it's going to be on call in a birthing center. If you're doing it at home, then you know your midwife that's a little bit different. So you establish a relationship with a midwife that it's like seeing you through the whole process. And then you're going to have this midwife at home.
Right.
In a birthing center, you're changing the midwives. You're seeing different midwives, and you can get someone that you like met once, maybe, or maybe you don't even know that it's on call on that moment.
Yeah. I think there's like 6 midwives or 7 at the birthing center that we go to. I met one of them once, or 2 of them once. And then the other ones I've seen, 2 or 3, 4 times. And then some of them I've seen almost every time. And like she said, there's no way to know who you're going to get. And of course, there are people that we feel more comfortable with and people we feel less comfortable with. And we've talked about it like, oh gosh, if we were to get her, I think we'd feel way less comfortable than if we were to get her. Right. And I think that part is a little funky to not know. And the hospital's the same.
Yeah.
Where, and
if you're in an emergency type of thing.
Yeah. And we also, we talk a ton about the hospital process in our previous episode. So we're going to skip over a couple things because we don't want to double dip. Go back and watch that episode. It's kind of part 1 of this conversation.
Yeah. So then when I got more comfortable and I was like, you know what, I'm feeling more like a home birth, and I can talk a little bit more why I felt more into that. But when I got into that, I was like, okay, so in order for me to do a home birth, I need you to be on the same page. So I think that was the moment that for me, I kind of like did a transition, but you were not there yet. You were not 100%. You were like, I don't know. I still don't feel comfortable, because in your perspective, you were seeing just the birthing center. You didn't go through the whole like study and certification that I went through, and you were not comfortable, which I understand. But in my head, I wouldn't do a home birth if you're not 100% with it. Mm-hmm. So at that moment, I did know in my heart that I wanted to do a home birth, but I didn't want if you were not 100% with that. So I was still like, yeah, we're going to do it at the birthing center. I would like to do it at home, but I think we're going to do it at the birthing center. And then I think what happened, the shift in you, is after we met with our doula. Sorry. So that is a specific thing. I think the team, the people that you have with you, the doula, the midwife, the doctors, whatever you choose, the team that you're going to have with you, it's so sacred and so important, because that is going to guide your experience 100%. And that's what I hear about most of my friends who have done naturally. They emphasize how important is the team that they have with them and how comfortable they felt. So we met with our doula, which came through a recommendation. And I felt pretty comfortable with her because she has been doing birth since 1993, since I'm 1 year old. So she has experience with this. She has 6 kids. She has 1 grandchild. She had all her babies naturally. And she has done a lot of work as a midwife, as a doula, as a nurse in a hospital. So she has a lot of experience, which gave me a lot of confidence. And
she's a total badass too.
Yeah, she's a badass. Shout out Johnny.
She's just a badass. She's got a vibe. She's like, dude, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Do it. Whatever. You're
so
good.
She made me feel very, very safe. But at that moment, we are hiring her as a doula because we were doing at the birthing center. So we already had a midwife. Although she is traditionally trained as a midwife, she's not legally practicing midwifery. So we hired her as a doula. And we, after having a few conversations with her, and she explaining to Nick especially, because I think I was more on the page of I would like to do home birth. But after having a few interactions, asking a lot of questions, getting to know her, Nick felt much more comfortable about doing it at home. And I think that was the moment that for me, I don't think I pushed you in any moment. And I think I was very clear, like I'm only doing home birth. I would like to do home birth. I was clear about that, but I'm only doing that if you are 100% on that.
Yeah. What we have to talk about is team, and I'm going to talk about it from the lens of a dad because I think it's a very, I look at it very simply. I'll talk about it in a business sense. If you have a good team, that is such an advantage to your business being successful, right? Or just at work. Maybe it's not your business. You're at work. If you have a solid team around you, things are more efficient. Things get done. When problems come up, there's a certain mentality, a certain energy. There's a certain aura, right? When you have a team that doesn't want to be there, that a team that's doing it just for the money, a team that's, oh, I hate work. Like you feel that. And that makes a difference in the way that people show up and respond for the tasks at hand. So what was really important to me as we started to explore this, and I would really encourage dads to think about this piece and ask these questions of your wife. Are you excited to spend time with the person that you're doing this journey with? And that includes everybody in the room. So if it's a midwife and a doula, do you want to hang out with those people during potentially the most powerful, deep, emotional, inward, intense, vulnerable experience of your life? Are those people you'd like to have in the room?
So you like the vibe of these people.
You like the vibe, right? Do you like their, I was going to say energy, same thing. Do you trust them? Is there like, and I think there's, of course, people can put on a facade, but when you spend an hour with somebody, you can get a really good grasp if they are somebody that you rock with and that has a trustworthy essence.
But definitely you need more than 1 hour with the person that's going to be at the birth. Like you need a few different moments and scenarios and having that person in your space as well. And I think that's something that she emphasized a lot to us. She's like, I need to go to your house and be with you there. Yeah. And
yeah, because then, she came here for the first time yesterday and we walked around the house. She pointed out, okay, we think we should do it there. Let's have the birth there. Let's put the bath there. You should think about this. You should think about that. So just having her kind of see the layout, then she sees the kitchen because she might be cooking for her. She sees where the laundry room is, all that stuff. That makes a good team member, somebody who wants to go above and beyond, somebody who's passionate. And I think that is a standout quality of hers that made me feel really good. I think that if I said to her, we had this birth and I was like, yo, I actually have no cash to pay you right now. And she, because of the relationship we're starting to build, honestly, I think she'd be like, don't worry about it. Yeah, just don't worry about it. If you can pay me, down the road, please do. But it's all good because this woman believes this is her mission and this is a part of. And now the other thing that's important, I think, is that you don't get somebody who is like an egomaniac. So that was one of the things I was really conscious of when meeting her, because I'm like, this should not be about her and her birthing a baby. And all the stories she started to tell us were about the interventions that interrupted the natural process called birth.
Yeah.
And how that created hemorrhaging, that created rushes to the hospital, that created issues with placentas, and that, there were issues because a midwife that she was a doula for. So the doulas kind of sit back and watch a little bit.
Or a midwife assistant.
Or a midwife assistant. They don't run the show. So she's observing and she can't say, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. And she's like, I'm watching them just intervene when they don't have to intervene. And I think hearing her talk about that she is more committed to just letting things happen as they should.
But
and also
attentive.
And when she needs to step in and she knows something's up, she's going to do that. And that's where 30 years of experience comes in.
Yeah.
So she hit all these marks. I thought about it like, would I hire this person? Like if I was running a business, a midwife business, would I hire this chick? And the answer was like a resounding yes. Not right from the start, actually. It was like after that first meeting, we took a little break and then we started to connect more. And that's when I was like, this is the person that I feel comfortable with. I like that she also kind of doesn't fuck with the rules. Like she's like, there are rules, but then there's birth.
Well, let's talk about these rules because that are some of the rules that made us transition from birthing center to home birth.
So the first rule was, for example, and there's a bunch of them, but there's a lot of legalities when you're at a home birth or when you're working with a midwife. One of them, that was a big one for Bea that transitioned you out of, probably the one that kind of got you out of there.
Not the one, but it's a very important one.
Was the birthing of the placenta. So I talked about this on the previous podcast, but essentially you have the baby and then within anywhere from a few minutes to 2 hours, 3 hours.
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
Usually most women they birth right after, like
Right
15
after.
minutes after.
5 to 15 minutes range is what I read. So within 5 to 15 minutes, usually you feel a semi kind of, you'll be sitting there with the baby on your chest. Oh my God, this is so amazing. And then she'll feel this tiny contraction, but not as intense as the birthing contractions. And it will literally birth the placenta. And the placenta is like the most magical thing. It's the thing that was keeping your baby alive, dude.
It's literally an organ that you didn't have before that you grew when you grew a baby, which is the craziest thing.
It's so sick. So like your wife builds another organ over 9 months, takes care of a human that's inside of her, and then you birth that thing. And then this is going to sound crazy, dudes. If you know nothing about birth, maybe you do. You then can do whatever you want. Most hospitals, I found this fascinating. Hospitals, if you don't say anything, they just take your placenta. Now, what they can do with your placenta is a lot of things. They can throw it out. They can use it for research. I don't know the rest of the stuff, but they can do.
There are people that they sell their placenta for a lot of money.
Right. So you can get the placenta and you could sell it.
Nick wanted to sell my placenta.
So bad. You can't do it unless you're in the hospital, I think. But you can sell your placenta to the hospital. So if you are choosing to do hospital birth, research that, because if you fit the protocols, the hospital is just going to take it without your permission, unless you say, I want my placenta. Or I'm open to selling the hospital my placenta. That's a crazy thing.
And a third thing that you can do is to encapsulate or do tinctures or use your placenta.
Or put it in your smoothies.
Yeah. And the reason for that, and I think that's really important, we're not going to go super deep into that, but a placenta carries and literally like so much nutrients and so many minerals and things that are important for you on your postpartum. And I think it's something that I didn't understand before. You know, I remember like being young and hearing like these crazy stories and being super disgusted by saying like women that would like eat their placenta after. And I would be like, wait, what? But it's actually just literally encapsulating, doing caps off your placenta, because there's so many things there that it's important for you in your postpartum. And you can do tinctures that can last forever. One example that even our doula did to us is that the tincture is going to last years and years and years. So if you have a daughter, for example, and she's having like problems with hormones, you can use that tincture that came from your placenta that was nourishing your baby to regulate their hormones. So there are so many things that a placenta can do. And it's not a thing for it to be disgusted by. It's literally something that can help so many moms who are going through postpartum and going through a lot of instabilities in their body.
So one of the things we do is this is what we'll do is put the placenta on like a piece of paper, and they do this whole thing where they make it look like a tree of life. It's kind of cool. But then they take it home. The midwife will take it home. That's one of the service she offers. And then she encapsulates it. However they do that, they put it in little capsules. And then starting, I think 2 or 3 days after, Bea starts taking those capsules to help her with her recovery process. They're so nutrient dense.
It can also stimulate milk production.
Milk production, all that stuff. It's really good. And then the tinctures as well. So also you could sell it to the hospital for like $5,000 or $10,000. It's kind of crazy.
I don't know. I thought it was more like 500. Okay, no.
$500,000, honey. I would be impregnating you every 9 months on the. Are you crazy? Yeah. If you ask my wife, you can get $500,000 for your placenta. Your placenta is made out of gold, literal gold.
Anyway,
that is inaccurate.
Let's talk about that. So one of the reasons that I decided to drop out of care of a birthing center and going at home, and this is, again, that protocol, if I'm hiring a licensed midwife, would be the same. So, which is, if you are not birthing your placenta within 30 minutes that you birth your baby, the third stage, birthing the placenta, if it's not happening within 30 minutes, the midwife has the obligation to call an emergency, the hospital, to pick you up, because this means in the process for them that maybe you are bleeding or that the placenta is not coming. And what happened to a lot of places, and this goes from midwife to midwife, birthing center to birth center, and you need to have conversations to really understand what is the process that they they do at your location or with your midwife. But some of them try to guide the placenta. And what I mean by guide is literally like just pulling the cord, just giving space to the cord so the placenta can be birthed. And some places, which happens in a lot of hospitals, they try to pull your placenta. They literally go there and try to pull. And what I've seen, and that's why I started bringing this conversation, because I started read a lot of stories of different moms who went through the process. And many, many times when a doctor or especially in a hospital setting that they are trying to just birth your placenta fast, they go there with their hands and they try to pull the placenta. And what happens is that sometimes it breaks, it stays pieces of your placenta, and then you start to bleed and lose a lot of blood. And I didn't want to go through a process like that. And again, most women, they birth their placenta right after, because you're still like in that very intense oxytocin levels of like being with your baby. So it's a beautiful moment. But a lot of women don't. A lot of women take 2 hours. And I've heard stories of women who birth 10 hours later, which is not common at all. And they were fine. It's just each body has a different process and timing. And I think that when you have someone who has a lot of experience, they can read cues of your body if something is not right with your placenta, even before that happens,
Yeah, but one of the things that people need to understand is that there is a reason why they're trying to get it out. And it's because if their theory is if your placenta is sitting inside of your body and you have hemorrhaging, internal bleeding, the placenta is blocking that blood from coming through and letting the medical person know that you may be bleeding. And the way our midwife explained it to us is she said it's very obvious if you're bleeding, usually in most scenarios. You're having some very odd response, like you're not feeling normal, something that feels wrong. In a state of high oxytocin, you should be feeling amazing, tired, but amazing. If you're feeling off, like I don't feel so good, or you're gushing blood, right? Like then that's something to be concerned and to look at. But she said, the way it sits in your body, we'll be able to notice if you have blood behind it, depending on where it sits, depending on when I press, if there's pressure, if it's pain. So if you have somebody who knows, there isn't really a reason to be nervous that that's happening without anybody knowing. And that's why they're trying to get it out, so that it protects the woman from some bleeding that's happening behind the placenta. But it is the pulling of it or the ripping it off the wall of the uterus before it's ready that actually creates the hemorrhaging in most scenarios. Yeah. So it's important to just know that, like, if you have somebody who knows what they're doing, that fascinated me when I heard that.
Yeah, and I understand that it is a safety management that they do at the birthing center or with a licensed midwife. But I didn't want to put myself into a position like that. If my body takes a little longer, if it doesn't take 30 minutes, it takes an hour, whatever it is, and I'm feeling good, I don't want to be rushed through a hospital and, have to call the emergency, because there's so much more to that. It's not only going to the hospital. It's like, probably I'll be separated from my baby.
Right.
I don't know if my baby is going to be able to come with me. And then I have to rush the hospital 30 minutes after.
The baby can come with you, but if they come with you, they become a patient of the hospital and they need to stay in the hospital overnight for testing and all that stuff.
Yeah. So there are many things that involves this. It's not a simple decision of like, okay, if you didn't birth your placenta in 30 minutes, you go to the hospital. Like there's so much that goes into that. So that was a big reason that it started to not feel right to me. Like, why would I have to do that and put myself?
The other part is the infection. You're at risk for infection, they say. Yeah. So that's another reason, maybe the main reason why they feel like they have to get it done quicker.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, a birthing center is run by a corporation, and yes, they are led by midwives, but there's still a corporation behind it. Mm-hmm. And when there is a corporation behind there's a lot of like business, money, and situations like, right now that we are going through, that we are deciding to drop out of care. There's a lot of insurance conversation, you see that it's not simply just a people person
Well, one of the way I thought about it was like, if you think about, you take your car into some big, large company, and they're like, oh, sorry, sir, this is our policy. Sorry, sir, this is our policy. And they like, it's just like, dude, can you just do that thing that, yeah, you're technically not supposed to do, but you do it and it gets things moving quicker. I'll give you an extra $5, that type of thing. When you're working with a personal business, like a family run business, my dad owns a pharmacy, 3rd generation. They follow the rules. They're strict to protocol, of course, like especially when it comes to pharmacy. But they do things on a personal level as a family-owned business that you wouldn't do if you were CVS. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the feeling that I get in the home versus birthing center, definitely versus hospital. But birthing center gave me that little sense of that comfort. It's like a kind of family-run business that kind of went corporate. And specifically, this birthing center was a corporate birthing center. There are birthing centers that are privately owned, which is different. So I think that's important. And so
that's one of the reasons. The other reason is that the having like lots of midwives, like you don't know who you're going to get at the moment. And it's not that it's a problem to me because I don't have like specifically like a problem with anyone, but I might get there and be a midwife that I have never met before, or that I like literally just said hi. And I don't want to get into a position put myself in a position where I might feel uncomfortable when I don't know how I'm going to feel. I think birth is such a sacred process. And for me, being the first time birthing, I have no idea how I'm going to feel. I have no idea what's going to happen. And although this might be scary, it's also like an exciting thing. And in the moment that I'm there and I'm meeting someone that maybe it's one of the midwives that I don't feel like 100% with, like, I don't know how I'm going to feel. Mm-hmm. There is a slow down process that happens between transition from home to going to the birthing center, which is the same thing that happens to home to hospital as well. Usually when you start having contractions, when you get into labor, you don't go in that moment like rush to the hospital or rush to the birthing center. You wait a little bit. You see if you're like getting to active labor to really go to the birthing center or to the hospital. And this process can slow down a little bit. And this transition also was something that I was like, I don't know if I want to have this transition into like jump in the car. And again, I am open if I feel like something is wrong or something's not going right and I have to go to the hospital. I think a hospital is great because it offers us this possibility to support me if I need.
Yeah.
If I need.
Yeah. A hospital is the best place for intervention when intervention is necessary, of course, right? You have an issue, something happens. You want to be around a doctor who knows how to handle that. You want to be around like a medical space that can handle a surgery if need be, things like that. The percentage is so low of women who need to be rushed into a medical emergency if you don't have pre-existing conditions. And I also want to say that I think it's important just for us to remember as we're talking about this, like we're talking about this from the lens of a woman who is outrageously healthy. You've taken care of yourself physically your whole life. You have no crazy outlying, God graciously gave you this beautiful, healthy body to deal with. So a lot of what we're talking about is coming from the standpoint, if not all of what we're talking about, is coming from the standpoint of somebody who's healthy, who has no underlying conditions, pre-existing conditions, and that you're just in like a good, healthy space. You're in a financial space where you can afford a midwife at home or a doula, right? You're in a position where you can afford healthy food. So I don't want to be ignorant to the idea that this path of just like home birth is not as easy as we're just kind of talking about it. There's a lot of things that go into it and you have to check.
But also understanding that birth is a natural process. Like we are all of our bodies can manage that. And I know that there are some few women who has some condition, health conditions. But most of us, we are prepared for that.
I would agree that most. I think that there's also a lot of people who are dealing with some type of illness or disease. We are a diseased country, an illness-ridden country because of our food system, because it's another podcast for another day. There's a lot of reasons. But you should absolutely consult medical professionals, but don't just go to doctors to get that insight, because it's just very rare you're going to find a doctor that's like, I really advocate for a home birth. They're going to advocate for them working with you, which is going to be a hospital setting. And it would probably be ridiculous for a doctor to go, I really recommend you go home. Even though when we look at all of it, like the numbers just show that more natural births happen at home and at birthing centers. Healthier, more fluid, smooth births happen at home and at birthing centers. The numbers are actually crazy. And we had a bunch of statistics here, which are pretty wild, about the transfer rates, about emergency rates, emergency transfer rates by setting. Overall transfer rate to the hospital is 21%. So that's from if somebody's doing like free birth at home.
And the reasons for that, just one of the biggest reasons for transfer from home to hospital is because you get so tired, you're not resting.
Slow labor progress and exhaustion are the two
and then you
reasons.
Want to get a epidural. You want to get an anesthesia to like, numb the process because you're so tired.
The numbers like slow labor progress, exhaustion, and need for pain meds are the top 3 by far.
Yeah.
And then there's a small percentage called fetal distress, which is there's something wrong with the baby. That is a really significantly lower number. Let's see, the other piece, hospital births. This is also like when we think about why we're so animate about doing it at home, and we talked about this briefly on the previous podcast, but the importance of a vaginal birth, if it can be done, versus a C-section. Babies born via elective C-section have higher rates of respiratory distress, NICU admissions, and the need for oxygen compared to those born vaginally. Okay, so just right off the bat, I think it's really important to understand that you're putting your kid in a better position to have a healthy birth process by choosing to do it vaginally if you can. There's also just something spiritual about this. Like, it's just harder. It's more painful. You have to go through this like incredibly intense experience. There's almost something, I mean, this is where it gets a little spiritual for me, where it's like, when you go that route, it's almost like you earn the baby's health in a way. And of course, it's not that every time, right? But there's something beautiful about that. Like, you've carried this, and there should be no shame in doing a C-section if that's what needs to be done for you. But there's something really powerful about, it's been 9 months and now it's it's the last sprint. It's the last 0.4 miles in the marathon. Are you willing to fight for those last little pushes? Whereas if it's like, I'm tired, I don't feel like it, like I don't want to do that, and you decide that before labor ever starts, I don't know. I think there's something godly, God repays those who are willing to go through the tough times. Of course, this is not like true. This is my truth. This is my opinion. And I would really ask women to question that, and the men to question that, because it'd be so much easier for us to just like all be there and know my wife's going to get cut open real quick. They're going to take the baby out. Everything's smooth, guaranteed. But I'm reading it here. These kids have higher rates of respiratory distress, NICU admissions, and the need for oxygen, rather than just letting the woman go through what she has to go through. And it's one of the hardest things for a dude to watch his wife go through something and not handle the pain for her. And that's been one of my biggest challenges during these last 8.5 months.
So I have a question for you. How do you feel like you're preparing yourself to do this home birth and support me?
To be quite honest, I said this to Joni yesterday. I feel like I've been prepping for this because I've been in this world of personal development through fitness, through wellness, through mindset, through coaching, through transformational work. I've been in that spiritual world for 10 years now. And you've watched me go through really intense seasons of it and continue to. And I feel like this has been the prep. Like it was learning about myself. It was learning who I am. I am so not arrived. Oh my gosh. I feel actually farther. There's something about like ignorance is bliss that I really miss those days. But the more I learn, the more I understand, the more I realize I don't know anything in the grand scheme, which is a weird place to be, because it also makes you question yourself. It's making me question, do I actually know how to support? Do I know how to show up for her? Do I know who I am? And a lot of the answers to that are just confusing answers. Like, I don't know. But the most immediate prep, if I'm like just, talking simple things you can do now, is practices in regulating my nervous system. So like I was just saying how today I'm kind of feeling off. Like, I know what needs to happen is I'm going to go train and move my body so that I can like move some energy. I need to meditate. I already did my prayer and journaling this morning. I need to meditate today at some point. I need to get around like positive people. That's already organized today. We got a bunch of friends coming over to help cook some meals that will be in the freezer for us for this time. So like I'm going to be spending time with people I love. So learning to regulate my nervous system and stay calm in stressful situations, I think, is the biggest thing you can do to prep for this thing. Because for me, what I have learned is that in order to get you to a space where you can do a smooth process of a vaginal birth that takes a lot of attention and focus and peace and calmness through the chaos, what is going to support you the most is that I am that grounded figure, and that I can be calm and I can hold a certain energy and frequency while you're kind of on your like holy shit mode. So my practice is every day. When you get bitchy and pissy and snappy and hormonal or whatever is happening, and how can I navigate keeping it chill, keeping it calm, not blowing up? Because there's going to be a moment where I'm watching you in excruciating pain, where I don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on. The only one who probably knows what's going on is a midwife. And in those
So you're
moments,
saying I'm preparing you already.
You're doing a great job, honey. Multiple times a day. Thank you so much. Like I just think everything has been prepped for it. We've been struggling with a lot of different parts of our lives lately. And I think all of those stressors and learning how to manage them is going to make me a dynamic partner for birth. And I was already thinking yesterday, I'm like, this doula thing fascinates me. Not that I'm going to go try and be a doula, but to be able to hold a certain energy, calmness, vibe in the face of chaos, in the face of stress, in the face of worry, in the face of spiritual shifting and alignment and powerful moments and breakthrough for people. How can you hold space? It's not so far off from what I do with work. So I was thinking a lot about that and how powerful of a gift and a job that is, and how that's really what I'm here to do. I'm not the midwife. I'm not here to medically support. My name will be on that birth certificate as the one who caught the baby, which is cool, because I will catch the baby, I think, depending on, if you want to do it or me. But that's where it's at. I think prepping the house, I said to be on the car ride home today, I said, what else do you need? Because she's bugging out. The midwife was like, what do you got, 4 weeks left? She said. She's like, I think you have at least 4 weeks left. Bea was like, no, impossible. It can't be.
I'm like, I have like 1 more week in me and then I'm done.
That's it. And I said, what do you need to get done here in the home so that you feel like the baby could come today? Because I think that's part of it too.
Well, I think that's my preparation for like the home birth, like how we are preparing in terms of like doing a home birth. I think the first thing is like understanding what it is like, the process, and understanding that there are a few things that I'm going to need as a postpartum. As I prepare for a vaginal birth, I need some, there's a birth prep kit that usually your midwife, your doula can suggest you that you buy, that comes with some things like some diaper chat pads type of thing that you put on the bed. There are things like pads for you, disposable underwears, some sprays, some some technical things that you're going to need as a postpartum, that it's going to support you. It's not that it's like 100% you're going to need all of those, but there are a few things that I start seeing that's going to be very, very helpful and support my healing process. So I think these are the things that I've been preparing with, have some diapers ready, have some newborn clothes, having some stuff that it's going to be kind of in place. So whenever the baby is here, the base net. So all of these things we have been preparing the past 2-3 weeks, to be honest. We didn't prepare like months ago, which
totally
most people do. And I think this is kind of our preparation. We are testing this week our bathtub that we will have here. We're going to test the water. We're going to test where it's going to be. So these are like some physical things that we are testing and be prepared for when the moment happens.
The point being is that we are spiritual beings. We are specifically women at this time, very intuitive, very feeling. So we could say like, it's not that big a deal, but if she feels like she needs to prep the bathtub, like it's a blow up mattress, she's used it 1,000 times. We don't need to prep it, but my wife needs to see it pumped up. I
absolutely do.
Which is whatever, crazy, but sure, we'll pump it up. There is something that happens internally when emotionally, when the boxes are checked. And again, everything that's going to allow her to release and let go is knowing that all these boxes have been checked. All these things are good. So now it's up to God. If I'm supposed to die, if this baby's supposed to be a stillbirth, if whatever, if this is supposed to be a healthy birth, if I'm supposed to feel good, then this is now God's doing. I did everything I could. We did everything we could to set the space for a great birth. That gives permission for a woman to completely let go. And I'm saying this before it all happens. I think I'm going to be saying this again afterwards. When I see it all go down. I think that's really important. And for me, it's navigating, like we're talking about, having a videographer in there and a photographer in there and things like that, along with the midwife and her assistant. It's like, I need to know who's in there, what's the energy, what's the vibe. Like I'm the vibe master.
Yes.
That's me. I'm the vibe master.
Yeah, you are.
Lighting, candles.
That's also part of the doula support. Like that.
Right. She'll like make sure all that essential oils, all those things. Like I just want to make sure the vibe is chill, the vibe is good, and it is what she needs. Because that's going to make the difference for her to let go or not let go, and in turn have that vaginal birth, which makes all the difference in all the ways. I mean, I just keep reading about all these different ways that it's outrageously important.
So let's wrap up this with who are we telling this and why?
So this is tricky and we're not going to release this till after the birth's done. And I don't want those loved ones that we love so much to get mad, but as you can hear, it's 2 hours of podcasting just to begin to start to explain why it's so important for us to go this path. Mm-hmm. So, I know when we were talking about your parents, my parents, 2 different stories. Yeah. Right? 2 different reasons why we...
Well, my reason to not tell my parents, especially my mom, is because I know she's going to be super scared. And just the decision of doing at the birthing center was already a struggle for her. And she was already like freaking out and saying that I was not doing the right thing, which is a pattern of my mom. She is someone that had a very tough life and a lot of things happen in her life. So she's very like controlling and she's trying to keep everybody safe. And in her head, this is not the safest option. And she had 2 C-sections. I was a C-section. My brother was a C-section. So in her head, it's like you were in the hospital. If you need a C-section, you're there. So it's just a lot of conversation to navigate, and it's not that I don't want to have this discussion. It's just going to take a long time. And she's going to say a lot of things that she's not really sure about it, that she thinks. And I don't want to have this conversation right now. I'm happy to have this conversation after. But right now, it's just going to be a lot of discussion, a lot of arguments, and it's just going to put a lot of things in my head that I don't want to.
Yeah, so here's one of the reasons why, and I think you should 100% go with your own judgment about checking in with who do I want to share this with, especially parents, friends, family, all that stuff. This video I saw yesterday that you posted, I want to read this because I think this gives good context as to why I'm choosing what I'm choosing in terms of who I'm telling. So yes. I'm just going to read this out. This, I don't know whose post it is. Birth Uprising is the name of the account. She said, the risk of stillbirth is 2 to 4 times greater. Stillbirth means the baby's born dead. is 2 to 4 times greater at 4 weeks versus,
40 weeks.
42 weeks versus 40 weeks. So it's saying 2 to 4 times greater if you wait till 42 weeks versus 40 weeks.
Just to clarify, 40 weeks is usually what they consider your due date. So 42 weeks means that you're past 2 weeks of your due date.
This will make sense as to why I'm saying this in a moment. That sounds scary because I worded it in relative risk. With relative risk. It's very far away, sorry. The ratio of one risk to another with no starting point, okay? That's relative risk. Ratio of one risk to another without a starting point. Absolute risk is 0.15% at 40 weeks, and then 0.35% at 42 weeks. Okay, so the chance of a stillbirth, 0.15%. Think of how small that is at 40 weeks. And at 42 weeks, 0.35%. A difference no one would ever pay attention to.
Yeah.
Okay. Other things with a 0.35% mortality rate. Let's look.
So when...
Hold on. Drive a car for 1 year. That's a 0.35% risk of mortality. Exist as a 65-year-old. Climb a 14,000-foot mountain. Take up Alaskan crab fishing. Eat raw oysters regularly for 1 year. These are things that are at a 0.35% risk of death. How we frame risk matters so that parents can make the right decision without fear or coercion. So why we're choosing, I think it's an amazing post, why I'm choosing not to speak with many people about it is because context matters and people are speaking without context. If 98% of people go to the hospital, this, that, and the other thing, it's like, I understand what you're saying, but without context, the rest doesn't make sense.
So that's something that when I was doing the hypnobirthing certification really opened my eyes, because I have heard so many times, like, after you pass your due date, there's a bigger chance that the baby is going to poop in the womb and then it's going to swallow the poop. And like my mom have said that to me, like I have heard this people talking about, but that's the risk that we are talking about when they say like, oh, your risk increase when you pass your due date to the baby be born dead, or like to have, like other things that happens to the baby. Yes, there is a minimal increase of risk, but when you word like that, where you double the risk, you double from 0.0 whatever
0.15 to 0.35.
Yeah, it's like a very minimal risk still. And we just heard yesterday, the midwife, our doula midwife, was telling about this girl that have a baby at home at 44 weeks. It's not common. Usually baby don't wait until 44 weeks, but it might happen. In Kenya, the due date is 43 weeks. It's not 40 weeks as it is here, as it is in many countries. So it's very...
Not suggesting Kenya is the golden standard of medical decision making.
That. But I'm just saying that this is a standard that it was created many years ago. And it's not that it's a standard that doesn't matter. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that just be careful with the information that you read and how they are wording it based on,
It's relative risk conversation. That's the idea, is that you can't just start throwing around, it's this much greater, it's so much more. Look at the actual... Like, really, we're talking about less than 0.5%. Sure, it's double. I can say it's double and it can be a 40% chance or an 80% chance. This is a 0.3% chance or a 0.5% chance. That's what we're talking about. So you have to look at the risk that on the other side of things. If you choose to rush and induce a baby and push a baby out at 40 versus 42 when it's ready at 42 and not ready at 40, you should think of the risks that you're incurring there, because I don't know what the numbers are, but I would imagine if you start forcing a baby out, if you start trying to induce a baby when a baby's not ready and a baby's like, no, I still need some cooking in here, man. I'm undone. I'm undercooked. I need a little more cooking. And you're trying to push that baby out. Then they're trying to force things. Potentially you're causing hemorrhaging. Potentially you're causing the mom's body to do something it's not ready to do. And in turn, what if you get sick that way? What if you get... The mom becomes, puts herself in a position to die because she's pushing things. I'm not saying that if you induce, you're going to die. I'm saying that there are risks that you have to look at from doing the other thing. Why isn't somebody saying the risk of forcing a baby to come out 2 weeks early than when it's ready to come out?
That's another thing with birthing center. If you get to 42 weeks, they drop you out of care.
You got to get out of care.
Yeah.
So this is the reason we're choosing to keep this to ourselves, because there are some people that I feel comfortable. We've always talked about, like, who do we tell certain things to? I know when we got married kind of in private. The only people who knew were my family and her family. And there were a lot of reasons for that. But then we were like, having lunch or dinner, and I'd tell the waitress, like, we just got married yesterday, and Bea would like, we're not telling anybody. But then I'd be like, yeah, that person doesn't matter. They don't know us. We're not famous yet. We're not famous yet. And like, nobody gives a crap, like, this is a random waiter at a restaurant. I don't care about telling a random person that we're having a home birth because they have nothing to do with my life. Whereas the people that are most important to me, I owe it to them, I believe, because they care about me, because I love them, because they're an integral part of my life, like my family, to give them a full explanation of my choices. With that being said, I've already made my choice. I don't need opinions, especially from people who haven't researched this or don't really know the information on it. I'm not looking for your opinion to tell me I'm wrong or I'm right, or I should think about this or I should think about that. I go to my parents and my siblings and my friends for a lot of things to get perspective and insight. We both do that. We really value the opinions from our family. This specific thing is very much integrates our value system, our specific desires and needs and wants as a couple, as individuals. It's our spiritual desires. It's a very spiritual thing, giving birth. There's a lot of reasons why we're choosing what we're choosing. Mm-hmm. And we had to do months of research, months of communicating with professionals, months of reading, months of just getting educated so that we can make this decision. I'm going to call my mom and be like, we're having a home birth, and expect her to be like, great. When 98% of people in America have a hospital birth, why would she ever in her right mind be like, that's a great idea? Because she's thinking like everybody else, the other 98% of the population is thinking, which is you should do a home birth. So why am I going to call her?
You should do hospital birth.
I'm sorry, hospital birth. Why am I going to call her and try and just convince her? And then I really take my parents and my siblings and my friends, like, I take their opinions seriously because they're people I care about. But if I've already made a decision, maybe this is just a bigger conversation in life that I'd like to dive into at some point. But when you already know, like when you're in your heart of hearts, you know what's right for you, why ask more people? Mm-hmm. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to feel right, which you already feel right? Somebody says, that's a great idea. It's like, I already know it's a great idea. I already decided it's a great idea. I already made my decision. Or somebody's going to deny you and it's going to create resistance, or you're going to start to get into your head and question. So why even ask? And that's one of these things. Like, as the man, as the leader of my family, I did the work, we did the work, and I know I made a decision with my partner, that I know is right for me. And now I'm not going to go start asking questions of other people to get their opinion to see if what I want is right.
I think if we had made this decision at the beginning of pregnancy, it would be different. We probably would have had this conversation with our family. But we have decided this at 35 weeks. So it's like, it's go time. And I don't have time to rework that thing into my mind. And I think Nick is probably similar to that. So it's like, kind of like starting having this conversation with family and friends right now, it just feels a big lift that I'm not willing to do right now at this point. And I think in my next pregnancy, if I have one, a next one, I probably would start, and because I have the experience already and I know what's going on, I will make this decision.
You're going to know what you want.
Yeah. And then I can have more of this conversation. But right now at 35 weeks, like it's go time, that's not where I want to spend my time and energy on.
And listen, I think your mom's a little tougher. Your dad would just be like, whatever. But my parents they have strong opinions, but also are outrageously respectful of our decisions. I'm talking about my siblings as well. Very respectful. They may have a strong opinion about something, or they may.
But I'm sure they would be a little worried, and they would start
and that's the other
conversations
thing.
About it.
Exactly. So what I was going to say is, it's not about would they be accepting or not, as much as it is, would I be thinking, like, there's a thing, and maybe you're like me. I feel personally very guilty when I like go behind my parents' back on something. I was just not the kid. I was, a troubled kid in many ways. I caused a lot of problems, but I would not do things that I knew would like hurt my parents or go blatantly in any serious way, go against them out of respect for them, because I really respect them a ton. If they were like anti something strongly, just hypothetically, if they felt very nervous, I would be thinking while we're here, Mom told me I shouldn't have done this. Dad told me, like, it feels very childish, because it probably is. But I don't want to be thinking about if my mom or dad are nervous about what we did. And now because they said, don't do this, now it's all on you. And, oh my God, did you mess this up? Like, I don't even want to give myself the space to do that, because I'm certain we have made the best decision for us. Even if, and this is something that Joni said that shifted for both of us, our perspective. She said, even if everything goes wrong, where do you want to be? And what decision do you want to lean on if those things were to go wrong? Right? So what that made me think about is a couple things. Number one, I really believe that if, God forbid, things go south, that I did the absolute best I could as the partner to make sure you feel safe, to make sure you're in a good position to be taken care of. I'm going to have my birth plan written up, which is happening in the next day or two. We have our bags packed for the hospital if necessary. We know the route we're going. We know which 2 hospitals we're looking at for different reasons. And we already know these are the reasons why you would go to the hospital. Everything is handled.
Yeah.
Right? We're getting our paperwork printed out, everything. That's all I have done everything I can. I know a safer birth for my wife is one where she feels safe, and that's going to happen here. And then everything else, that if it goes out of that just normal occurrence, we know where to go and what to do, what number to call, who to call, where we're going. That's all organized. So if you, God forbid, something happened to you or the baby, I can go to sleep at night and say, I did everything I could to take care of my family. And that's the question as the dad you have to ask. And I think as the mom, it's the same thing. Have I put myself in the best position? And I think for some people, that's a hospital. For some people, that's a birthing center. And for some people, that's home. Have I put myself in the best position possible to create the best possible outcome? And if I was standing in front of the people I care about most and had to explain why I chose what I chose, could I answer? Sometimes the answer ends up with, it was an intuitive call. Intuitively, this felt right. And that should be enough. And for some people, it's not enough. Where's your proof? Where's your science? It's an intuitive call for some of us. And if that's, you feel comfortable standing in front of those you love, those that you feel accountable to, and you want to stand, like I could confidently stand in front of my parents now, God forbid if something went wrong, and your parents, most importantly, and say, I did everything I could. And I'm sure that they will be like, you should have been in a hospital. You should have. Great. I know you think that, but I did my homework. I did my research, and I did everything I could to take care of the person I love most. If you're able to say that, then you pick the right spot. And other people's opinions, they're just opinions.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a lot to be said, especially for the partner role who's supposed to kind of be navigating these things, to hold it down. Lay hold of it is the term. To protect and house your partner, to make sure she doesn't have to deal with that shit. So, like, she's got it. Is Figgy talking to us? Baby's kicking. Baby's kicking. She's got enough to think about and to feel into and to be focused on. Dudes, it is your shit to handle the relationship stuff. I can't jump in the relationship between her and her mom. But what I can do is I can say, Amor, I think calling your mom and telling her these things is probably not serving your relationship or how you're feeling about this pregnancy. Why don't you just give that a rest and leave it. And if your mom wants to talk about it, I'll talk to her about it. Things like that, right? Where you hold down the fort. Everybody's circumstances are different, but if you got a situation where she's getting stressed because of people outside, like, I want to do that for you. I want to get in the middle of that, and I want to handle that for you, because if I don't, then you're handling it. And if you're handling it, that's more stress, that's more cortisol, and that's the flow of your process is now dissipated. What is that face?
No, I was just thinking that another topic for us to talk about is vaccines and and
Fun.
circumcisions and this type of things. But yeah, I agree with that. I agree 100%.
Yeah, we can talk about in future podcasts, why we're choosing what we're choosing with vaccines, why we're choosing what we're choosing with circumcision or not. If we have a boy, if we have a girl, we're not circumcising, because you can't circumcise a girl. So just so you know.
I think this was a great topic for us to talk about. And if you listened so far, everything that we shared here, it's what we said in the beginning of part 1, do your research. This is not saying you should do a home birth. This is to say that's why we chose a home birth based on our conditions and our research. Do your own research, listen to other people, listen to different experience, and listen to yourself. If you feel like that there is a desire in you, I didn't have a desire in me in the beginning to do a home birth, and something changed in me, and I 100% felt like I do want to do a home birth, and I feel much more prepared and ready. And I have moments, I'm not going to deny that, because I do have glimpses of fear and glimpses of moments of like, can I really do that? And really question if I can. But most of the time, I feel pretty confident. I feel empowered by my decision. I feel like I have an amazing partner that it's going to be there for me. I have a team that it's going to support me, and I can do that. I can absolutely do that. And the same way that I feel that for me, I know that for you to be true as well. So this is just my way to share a little bit of our story, because I feel like if I had heard someone saying that, I would probably take some time to research and to really check in with myself with what I want to do and why this person chose that, why I would choose this or that. So that is the idea of this podcast.
Yeah, and I think these last two were like very educational podcasts, which is not necessarily the vibe of what we've been doing so far. I think previously our episodes have been, and will continue to be, I hope, more like just us and our perspective and who we are and why we're choosing what we're choosing.
Just a little journal of our
like a
journey.
journal of our experience. This one is like, we really want to put information out there. So sorry if we're throwing a lot at you guys, but also not sorry, because I want you guys to feel like you're making the best decisions for you. And also just notice how much you are starting to question, maybe listening to all this stuff. You're starting to question more ideas. Bea said, trust yourself, feel into it. If I trusted myself and felt into it 9 months ago, the answer was hospital or birthing center, probably at the start. But as I started to get more educated and explore and meet with people who know things about this, not just shit you read online, just hearing why we all choose the hospital, and look that story up. Why did people start shifting to the hospital? Like our midwife was telling us this story yesterday about how, I think it was Rockefeller and whoever, like the mega rich of the mega rich started saying hospital births are safer. And you know what? Maybe in the 60s, maybe they were, but it's a different time now. And it's worth researching why they maybe aren't safer per se, and actually why they might cause more problems. So do your research, explore, and consider, even if you've never considered it before, consider it for the sake of you, for the sake of your kid, and for the sake of like what this does. I mean, we haven't even dove into what the spiritual repercussions of how the birth process goes.
Yeah. Well,
that's a whole different thing.
Also, like, we need to have our first experience to even like speak about that.
We need 20 years and then see how our kid turns out. But we can go based off of our experiences and what I've heard from my birth. I mean, like, my birth story is the definition of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, duh, of course that's who I am. You know,
they also say that the way that you birth is the way that you parent.
Yeah,
so,
Bea said that a couple times. That's interesting. The way you birth is the way you parent. Something else to consider. But ultimately, I just want to say thank you for opening an ear and being curious. And I really do encourage people to just explore and get curious and do your homework, man. It's worth doing your homework. It's important enough.
Thank you for listening us. This was a long part 2, but important
An important
one,
part 2. Yeah, for sure. And one that I hope,
serves you.
Yeah, pass it around to somebody if you know somebody, a couple who is maybe on that journey and they're not considering it, or even if they are, pass this around, help people see, that maybe there's another way that they're not checking out. I don't know if we're going to come dressed quite as nice next time, but I'll take it. A little white button down action. If there is a next time before you have a baby.
Oh my God. No, there will be.
From this point forward, you might not see us for a couple weeks.
No, we still have a few days probably.
So crazy. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on the Dad Easy podcast. Thanks for listening.